Welcome back, everyone. Next, we have 22nd Century Group, Inc. It trades on the NASDAQ under the symbol XXII and is an agricultural biotech company focused on tobacco harm reduction, reduced nicotine tobacco, and improving health and wellness through plant science. Joining us today is Larry Firestone, who was appointed chairman and CEO of 22nd Century Group in early December of last year. Welcome, Larry. How are you today?
Thank you, Anna. I'm doing great.
Well,
How about yourself?
I'm great. Thank you so much. I would love for us to start by you giving us an overview of 22nd Century Group's business. What is it today? It's fully focused on a single vertical. Explain that for us.
Yeah, so we grew up a research company looking for a solution for reducing nicotine, reducing harm from tobacco, and the research side of that, really developed into us getting some FDA approvals and MRTP, which we're the only ones that have that. And then the company sprouted out into some other areas, hemp cannabis and hops and things like that. We've really shed those. So the company today is really back to its roots in the tobacco business, focused on the development, I would call it the commercial development of our low nicotine cigarette VLN, and as well supporting that initiative with contract manufacturing. So we are a very, very small company now. We've expanded, now we've shrunk back down, and we're just targeting our growth. It's kind of a laser guided approach.
Great. Well, I understand that to get to that new level of focus, you also recently sold another division and went through a major cost-cutting initiative. So give us some history on that.
Yeah, the company, we took ourselves up to, I think it was in the neighborhood of $15 million a quarter in cash burn during 2023. And so we spread ourselves very thin. We had a lot of fractional focus, I would call it, and we sold that division. Division was GVB, and we sold that in December. Closed the transaction, and that brought us back to our roots. So that is now separated, runs as a separate company under different ownership, and now we're back to where we started. Pardon me.
Well, it sounds like a major turnaround of the business. You also mentioned you're now turning more of your attention to growing the business, obviously improving the results. So share about that effort. Yeah.
So, first, when I joined on December 1st, so this is probably my 8th or 9th week. Just harnessing the cash burn and getting that under control, and hitting the brakes. But now we've turned and we're starting to focus on I'll call it profitable top line growth. And so looking at our franchise player, which is VLN, that's our very low nicotine cigarette. It kind of got in the acquisition and the way the company ran in 2023. It kind of got lost in the middle. That's a great product. It's a great health product. It's really gonna help the smokers get themselves to the point where they can quit. I mean, its purpose is very, very straightforward. I love that. And we just need to pour more resources towards that so that we can get attachment, we can get distribution, we can get marketing, and we can get the people who need it to, first of all, know that it's out there, and second of all, know where to go get it. So there's a whole inertia inside the company, be it small and be it at its very early phase, to start to turn that on and begin to develop that in the market. And then behind that, we've got a contract manufacturing business that we've developed where we do, I'll just call it white label manufacturing for other cigarette companies, other tobacco companies, where we'll use our production capacity to support their product and their distribution in the market. And so that helps us absorb our cost structure so that the cost of a carton of VLN can come down and run in sort of a normal phase, if you will. So we've got some high margin VLN product, we've got some lower margin contract manufacturing product, and that's really where we're going to live.
Great. Well, Larry, tell us a little bit about yourself, your background, and why you've joined.
Yeah, so I've been doing these kind of companies for 43 years, mainly turnaround challenge companies that may have gotten a little bit off track. This is my 6th public company, and what I find is it happens often where companies get off track and they kind of lose their sight on blocking and tackling. And this being a very simple and straightforward company, looking forward, this one looks, it's very attractive to me. It's like a little public company, startup company right now. So I've done startups, I've done spinoffs, I've gone through the gamut over the last 43 years. What attracted me to this one is we've got a small NASDAQ company that has huge potential, and not only the stock market potential, but really where the value is to to the public, to the health of society, and so when you can have those two things come together, a little public entity and kind of changing the world as fast as you can, which will always take longer, and I know the shareholders want it really like right now. As we develop into that, that's a pretty exciting place to be. So that's exciting for me.
I'm sure it is. You will be reporting in March for year-end 2023. So what key metrics or milestones should investors be looking for?
Yeah, March is going to be a very, very big 10K. It's going to have discontinued ops for the GVB business. It's going to separate out the tobacco business, and the tobacco business, it's going to look like here's where 2023 landed. But really what we'll talk about is we'll talk about where we ended the year cost wise and where we are at that point in time, the end of March, in our current cost structure, which has been dramatically reduced. And with respect to things like cash burn, and so you can kind of see the different size of the chassis, the cost chassis. And then we'll also be talking about where we exited on a revenue side and where we are looking at 2024, which once the company turns its focus, which we have, on revenues, profitable revenues, I'll just state that again, because it's easy to get swept up into just simple top line. Our top line needs to make money, and that's a challenge, but our team is addressing that challenge. So that's really what we'll be looking for. This is a very simple business. On the balance sheet side, there'll be some big blocks of debt that we'll have to address, and I think we've addressed some of that with as we came through the GVB sale. So I really think, Anna, this is going to be a pretty simple story to track going forward.
Well, let's talk a little bit about balance sheet. That's been really difficult area for lots of small companies in 2023, yours included. So how do you view the balance sheet today?
Yeah, so the balance sheet's, we took on some debt, and in 2022, I think 20, and we do have a scenario where through the GVB company, we do have an insurance claim in that we think is going to settle a big part of that debt, and then we'll have some hangover, accounts payable and obligations that we have to some companies that have come through the ringer with us. And then as we look at it, it really is a race. So one of the challenges that we've had is bringing in capital to support the business while we get to the other side, and while we race to get to living, what I call living within our skin, and that's really cash break even. So we're tracking that every day, and how we get there, and that's as I mentioned, a function of lowering costs and increasing profitable revenue, and that will stop the need or slow the need, certainly, to go have these financings along the way. So that's really line of sight for me is when can we get there, and I haven't disclosed it. when can we get there, and then what's the company look like after we get there?
Larry, we have a few questions about your VLN product. I'll try to break them down as much as I can. Drew Jordan asks, is there a plan in place to get the exposure needed for VLN through advertisement to get it into the hands of smokers without an FDA ruling?
Yeah, that's a tough one. You said that was from Jordan. That's a tough one, Jordan. So the FDA, right after I first joined, I joined some FDA calls about our company. They were directly, us to the FDA, so it wasn't an FDA forum or anything like that. And the advertising angle on tobacco products is very, very limited, very narrow. And so they spend time on, for example, on our website, on every word that we say about it. So as much as, and that was new information for me. So at the time, so as much as it seems very, very intuitive that we should be just absolutely blasting advertisements for, the VLN product, which is 95% less nicotine, super good, super helpful for anyone who's smoking. The FDA, even though we have the only MRTP out there for a cigarette product, they're very limited. We have to play within the rules of the FDA for advertising. So it's a challenge. And we're actually, Jordan, as you bring that up, this is where, the kind of the gun turret has turned, as to how do we navigate those waters and get effective product promotion out there to drive product knowledge and then attention to it, and the outside influences that make people go find the product. And then the second piece of that is making sure the product's available where they can buy it.
And that is a lot of questions we have coming in for you, Larry. Bob Anthony asks, what is your immediate plan to educate high-profile people running organizations that are strongly for the menthol ban and the media to make them aware that VLN exists? Yeah,
I don't have the carved out plan for that as we speak. That's one of our objectives. As you know, as our listeners know, shareholders know, when the government entities put in the menthol ban, they're trying to, as a politician, and I'm just going to say politician in the global sense, they're trying to do good for society by eliminating one piece of the puzzle. I will caution all of our shareholders and listeners is, there's a whole lot of tax revenue that goes to these governments from the sale of tobacco, and so cutting off I think I don't sit in their chair, and I've been here 9 weeks. By cutting off one portion of the supply, I think what they believe is that people will go to non-menthol, and the tax dollars will still pretty much be there for them. I think they're depending on the fact that people aren't going to quit smoking because they can't get menthol. It's just a different, flavor component. So what we have to do is we have to navigate our way in by attacking both sides and understand the intuitive feeling out there that if we could somehow get our company to get an exemption where we would be the only menthol cigarette on the market, that would be huge for us. That's a pretty big challenge, and that's a challenge financially. I'm not sure how all the tobacco money flows, so that's one we're not ready to speak to just yet. But I think more importantly, and to the prior question that Jordan asked, is really making the smoker aware that even if the menthol ban is in effect, that we've got a VLN product that's non-menthol and that you can access in your market.
And that goes with a question from a user of your product, Janice Otterson, who is a smoker of 50 plus years, saying this product should be in every store that sells tobacco because it works. So Janice is asking, what is your marketing plan? How long will it take for VLN to be located in all 50 states?
Yeah, we're in 38 states as we speak. and we've got pretty good distribution in those states. And so and there's pockets in the U.S. where smoking is more prevalent than not, and we've got higher concentration. We exceed 5,000 stores. We've got some other opportunities. I think we have 9 different marketing and sales initiatives that we're working on that are specifically focused on either new distribution in the current footprint and new distribution in new footprints. But, Janice, one of the challenges that we face is in order to move this is really and I'm learning this as I go, but it's a challenge in that you have to actually register. You have to kind of ask the state that you're not in for permission to sell your product in that state if it's a tobacco product. So there's it's not like we can show up to the distributor like you can in distilled spirits or beer or coffee or anything and say, hey, how'd you like to carry our product? You actually have to get the state to approve the product coming in. And once it's approved, that's when you start to talk about the normal channel of product placement and route to market.
Robert Rubenzer asks, what's the IP worth if we get a nicotine mandate down the road? Can we survive until then?
What's the IP worth if we get a nicotine mandate down the road? Well, I think the IP is I mean, certainly we've got a lot of, we've invested, this company has invested a lot of money in the VLN, low nicotine tobacco. What would it be worth, Robert? It would really come down to if you're talking transactionally, if you're talking about would a big company come and buy us because of the IP, or are you talking about monetizing it through marketing and selling it and having it become the premier product in the market? So I don't really have a number for you. It's really kind of a little bit of a which way are you thinking? And then on the other hand, it would really, as I've been in this situation before, in other companies, if you're talking about, for example, a company taking over 22nd Century, it really would depend on what they've lost by the ban coming in.
Mm. Thank you for that. I'm sure it answered. If not, then we can always get more questions in from Robert. Sure. Ryan asks, if you can inform the long-term shareholders how accurate the store tracker is to date, and maybe talk about how sales have been in 2023.
Our store tracker is solid. We have our, I've got my map of the U.S. with my dots on it, and also our sales team is very, very hands-on with the sell-through through our distribution channels, and we have several of them. And the sales in 2023 have been, I would say they've been aligned with initial stocking sales, the sell-through, so that, there's stages in a consumer product sale. You have your initial stocking sale, and then you look for, marketing support and store support, and then you start to get your pull-through, looking for more customers like Janice. And so you go through that initial bubble, and then it drops off, and then you get into traction. I think we're in that in a nascent, and again, just a couple of products coming to the market. Here they are. So we're in that swing right now where it's as we talked about earlier on the call, it's about, how do we get the attachment in the store?
Sure. Don Thompson has 2 questions. One, can you address the reliability of the website, tryvln.com, for understanding the accurate identification of the number of stores selling VLN?
Don, I can't. I'll freely admit I haven't been to where you're talking. I'll go to it. So it sounds like we have a website reliability problem, and I'll go dig into that. Now, I will say this: in our website architecture, we did just peel 2 companies apart, so there may be a lack of fidelity in the website and for that. But I'll see if I can't go take a peek at that and get it working better.
And that was tryvln.com. Don also asks, are you capable of re-engaging the NIH and the Cancer Institute, the FDA, who previously for many years actively supported clinical trials of VLN type of products?
Yes. And we've had several discussions inside for, there's the Cancer Institute, there's all these institutions out there. I'll just call them institutions and vehicles that have meetings, have discussions, they have conferences, they have, every aspect of I would say an overarching market pocket that we fit into. NIH on one hand, that's more on the product development side, but certainly on the cancer side, certainly on the Quit Smoking Association, there's a host of them, and he mentions a few. Absolutely in the window of us engaging with them and finding out how we bring our product in there. Interestingly enough, I was fortunate enough to meet with one of our shareholders recently, and he's a surgeon out of Massachusetts. He sent me his information on the regulations for taking his particular patients into surgery. And one of the regulations before they'll allow this surgeon to do his trained work, which is pretty significant, it's life-changing, is the patient has to quit smoking. And so, unfortunately, in Massachusetts, there is a ban. We don't have distribution there, but in the neighbor states, if the patients are in the right place, we can get them, some of the products. So you can kind of see where I'm going with that, which is if we get the right attachment and the right information out there, then there's a whole piece of the world that could use this as a tool to get to the point where they're solving a separate problem.
Right. Thank you for that answer. Jack D asks, are you planning to use XTP in the future?
XTP. I'm not familiar with that.
I'm not either. I just wanted to ask it for Jack. Jack, if you want to explain more what that means, please let us know. Talk a little bit about, Michael wants to know, is there a reverse split possibly happening in the future?
Yeah, we have, as Michael, as you know, our stock is trading below the NASDAQ dollar limit. So, we've done, we're out right now with a proxy. We're out right now with proposal number 2, which is to give us some additional shares. The company used up its resources in 2023 for available authorized shares. And so I know what we believe is that having a NASDAQ franchise is a heck of a lot better, more important, and more valuable to the company than dropping down to the OTC. So obviously the reverse split is the way to get that done. Stock's trading down, well below $1. That's the threshold. So we'll have to use that to get up there. I don't have the decisions haven't been made as to what where the reverse split ratio is going to be and those kind of things. But I think it's safe to say that we all want to be there.
And Larry, for the contract manufacturing part of the business, are you fully using those assets? And what can you do to increase the revenue to margin from that part of the business and help cover your costs?
Yeah, so that's a great question. And that's a very top of mind question inside the company. And so we've changed the internal cost structure quite a bit, even at the manufacturing site, to bring down our cost per carton. I haven't said what our cost per carton is, so that's not public knowledge. But so we're bringing that down. We're reconfiguring what we do on the shop floor from the standpoint of how things work and how we maintain our equipment. And then, yes, absolutely, there's contract manufacturing operations out there, and it's very simple math. So, if this is our factory capacity, and this is where we're running, the more we can get towards here, the lower our cost per carton is, the more money we can make. So we know what those numbers are, and we're driving to get there. I'm not at all worried about saving room for VLN and those kind of things. I mean, I think you drive and you drive the you wring the money out at the end.
We have a statement and a question from Jorge Badrit saying, Dr. Reddy, the new Minister of Health in New Zealand, as the new government came into power, because of the loss in tax revenues, the new government stopped the 2025 smoke-free plan, which had reducing the level of nicotine in combustible cigarettes. Dr. Reddy has proposed starting the program with the reduced nicotine and not implement the other parts of the program. His question to you is, what is your company doing to support the New Zealand government with VLN cigarettes? Yeah,
we, Jorge, we haven't taken, this is all happening real time, as you know, because it was a major strategy of the company to engage, and actually that was going to be the, I'll call it the Hail Mary pass, was going to be New Zealand was going to equal VLN, and VLN was going to own that market. So we're in the very, very front end again of making sure our product is ready, it's tucked in, it's good to go, and hopefully we can still take the seat of the premier position when they make whatever sweeping regulations they have. And again, Jorge, you brought up the tax revenue piece. I mean, I hope it's not lost on any of our shareholders or your listeners that, I always say follow the money, and there's a lot of money flowing, around the tobacco business. So that's kind of when I come into looking at the strategy of the company and how do we play, it's how do we respect that, because nobody's going to freely give it up.
Sure. Larry, we have covered a lot of ground, and just to stay on time, we've got more questions for you, but we will send them to you so you can answer on your own. I'd love for you to spend a few minutes giving us some closing remarks.
Yeah, I would, again, I'm very early in my tenure at the company. I super appreciate all the shareholders that have engaged with me. And again, congrats to our team. They've made, at the company, they've made some very, very dramatic shifts in a very, very short period of time. And I always want to recognize them because they're the ones doing all the work. And so stay tuned. We think we've got an exciting story here. We think there's several avenues of growth, several avenues of profitability and cash flow. And we just need to continue to stay on track and focused on it. And then we'll have ourselves a company that we'll all be proud of.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for your time, presentation, and availability to answer these questions today.
You bet, Anna. Thanks. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you too. Okay, everyone, stay with us. We'll be right back.